So Costa Ludus is really excited to announce a partnership between us and Night Fision. Now, Night Fision has been around for a long time. They first started cutting their teeth back in 1992 on the lensatic compass. So if you were in the military and you had to utilize a compass at night, then chances are you were running one of their compasses. So they're not new in the tritium ball game. One of the things that they've been doing over the past few years is sights. And that's where I kind of took notice, because all of a sudden I get a set of sights that were on a Killer Innovations gun that they sent me. And these things were awesome. They were really vibrant. They were a little bit different than what I was used to. And then that kind of morphed into, hey, got a question for you. Are you guys interested in a partnership where you guys can build a set of sights for me based on my clientele, their purposes, and based on my specifications? And that's what we're going to talk about next. Predominantly, I like running fibers on the majority of my guns. And the reason why I do is because as my eyes have been getting old throughout the years, having a blacked out rear and a red fiber draws my eyes to that hard focus front sight, soft focus rear sight. It allows me, in my opinion, to be more accurate with that and track my front sight. And I can do that a lot faster if I can see that front sight. So that's great during the daytime. But when we get into low light, no light conditions, or I decide to go to watch a movie, then there's a drawback. Now, I still know how to shoot, even if I have a fiber on the end of my gun in low light conditions or no light conditions. However, I do also know, and I'm smart enough to know, that it's a little bit of a drawback. I mean, give me some tritium and I'm going to be much better off than with a fiber. And the issue really comes down to, how do we bridge the gap between the two? How do I get tritium, but how do I also have something that I can track and see during the day as well? Something that's vibrant. So with that, Night Fision does a ballistic polymer that's enhanced with a fluorescent pigment. Now, this thing's not going to fade, it's not going to crack, and it's not going to pop out. And this is their yellow. This is their orange. It's going to be hard to see, you know, on camera, on video, but it's extremely, extremely vibrant. Now, the rear sight doesn't have anything. It's blacked out, except it has a horizontal tritium bar. Here's one of the reasons why I do that. One, I want all my focus going to the front sight. So I don't like anything going on in the rear sight that's going to draw my eyes to it. The other thing is, when we start shooting at night, what I've seen is if you go dot front and dot rear, sometimes people come out of the holster slightly off and they see dot, 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 3 across, and they start to fire and they're not hitting their target. And the issue there is that they've got 3 tritium vials, 3 circles, and unless you color code them different, which some companies do, some will say, hey, this is a green and these are yellow. And the reason for that is what I just explained. It's so that you know the difference between your front sight and your rear sight. So in an effort to keep things as clean as possible and to not make it busy, I asked Night Fision to put in a tritium bar running horizontal. So basically all that I have to focus on is dot over a bar and fire. Now, one of the other things that I asked them for was I wanted the rear sight to have a nice angle cut to it so I could see more of the target. The other thing is I want them to put in serrations right here so that if I'm doing anything one-handed, I can catch that on my holster, my belt, my clothing, anything to help me get a better purchase. The rear of the sight also has serrations because, for me, I've always liked the way that looks. You can do it slick or you can do it with serrations, and it's just something about it that I like in regards to when I'm looking through a set of sights. The other thing to note is that this does not pass my RMR plate. So one of the things that I've noticed is when we're dealing with sights, sometimes they hang past. And what happens is I got to take a nice set of sights off the gun, throw like suppressor height sights on the gun, and I'm constantly switching this back and forth. This allows you to, if you want to run a red dot, put it on. And if you don't want to run a red dot, don't. It doesn't matter, but you don't have to take your rear sight on and off. Now, one of the other things that we had to look at was, well, this goes right to the rear at a slide, which I prefer. I prefer that look. I like starting at the rear of the gun with my sight and driving all the way forward. However, there's certain guns that are out on the market right now that Glock is doing, like the MOS, where if you try to put that sight on an MOS gun, it's going to hang off. So we still put all those attributes in a standard sight as well. So if you're running in front of an optic, or if you're running an MOS cut, it doesn't really matter. This is going to be your standard cut. Now, when we looked at height, I wanted something that, man, that front sight I just wanted to peacock up just enough so that if I'm running a red dot, I'm going to be able to see it good enough to be able to still make a decent shot. What I mean by that is I didn't want suppressor height sights. To me, they take up too much of my window. When I'm shooting my dot, I still have a huge blade there. So for me, especially after seeing how red dots have really overcome some of their durability issues over the years, I just needed something that was going to clear it as a backup. Now, what I'll tell you is with the Trijicon Rmr, you'll see a little bit more of the rear, top edge, and the front. When you're running the hollow sun like this, what you're basically going to see is you're going to see that the rear just sits, I mean, very, very micro, higher than the actual plate back here of it. And when I come out with it, I'll still see part of a half curve and then the top blade on my front sight. For me, that's good enough to where I have standard sights and I don't have to worry about running any type of suppressor height sights, which I don't really care for to begin with. The sights cost $110, so it's not like you're breaking the bank on these sights. They'll be available at Night Fision, and the rest of the details you can get on their website. But there'll be 2 different rear sights, and then of course orange and yellow in regards to the front sight. I think if you give them a chance, you're really going to like these sights. I think when we're looking at the functionality, the ability to not have to screw around with any type of red dot plates, you're going to like these sights. If you're shooting at night, I think you're really going to like these sights, shooting the dot over that line as well. So again, something excited that we're really excited about. So nevertheless, if you get a chance, check them out.